What's going on, guys? Steve here with Geek Boulevard, back with another film review. I have just seen Alien Romulus. Well, I saw it yesterday, so now that I've kind of had time to sit with it for a little bit, stew over it, I can give you my full thoughts on the movie. And I still pretty much feel the same that I did leaving the theater. It is easily one of the better films in the franchise. I do have some nitpicks that kind of affect the score a little bit, but I'll get into those later in the review. I'm going to be diving into spoilers as well, so you will get fair warning before I do so, or you can just skip that section entirely and go right to my final score. Alien Romulus is directed by Fede Alvarez. It is rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 59 minutes. Space colonizers come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe while scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station. Right off the bat, I think Fede Alvarez was the perfect choice to direct this. He does a really great job with horror. The Evil Dead remake is one of my personal favorites of his. Don't Breathe was really tense and unsettling at times, so this is just fitting for someone of his caliber. And the cast, I think, is pretty likable for the most part, but it's really the chemistry between Kaylee Spaney's character Rain and David Johnson's character Andy, who is a synthetic android who Rain tries to protect and help take care of. He has this kind of mentality of like a child, sort of, and he tells really bad dad jokes, but I love that about his character. Just the chemistry between, the relationship between those two characters was really the big selling point here. And the fact that he's just so innocent, but also wants to protect Rain however he can from whatever trouble they may face. But his character also goes through an evolution, not just figuratively, but literally. And that makes him an even more compelling character, so he was easily my favorite in the entire film. Now, let's not gloss over the practical effects, as Alvarez stated that he wanted the movie to have as little CGI as possible when it comes to those close-up shots of the xenomorphs and the facehuggers, and he fully delivered on that promise. It's really nasty to look at times, and it harkens back to the old ways of filming horror movies back in the day. So there was a lot of tender love and care given to the creature effects. There's definitely CGI in a good amount of scenes, but it never felt off to me, except for when it came to bringing a character back to tie this film to the other ones, and I really did not like what they did with this character. It was just so jarring and off-putting that it really took me out of those scenes. I'll talk more about it in the spoiler section. There's also a sequence with zero gravity that utilizes CGI, but I loved it. I thought it was a real creative use of that sequence. It was definitely one of my favorites. And the sound design, as well as the score from Benjamin Wallfisch, did such an amazing job with setting the tone, the ambiance, the atmosphere. Both the ambiance of the derelict ship and the mixture of the score during those tense and scary moments just elevates the whole experience. I do have another negative. Now, this might not be a problem for you, as the world has to be established, the characters, the setting, and all that. But having said that, this movie does take a little time to get going. Probably around the half-hour mark is when things kind of start to pick up. It did kind of bring the pacing down for me, just a little bit. But if you don't have that issue, then fantastic, you have even more of a reason to love this film. This movie takes some swings in terms of the mythology. It is set between the first Alien and Aliens, so there are callbacks to the original film and another film as well, and that is where we are going to go into our spoilers. So if you made it this far but you don't want those parts ruined for you, skip this section and go to my final score. Once again, spoilers ahead, you have been warned. Okay, you're still with me? Great. Well, let's revisit a point I made earlier about a character coming back to tie this film to the first Alien with the use of both practical and CGI, and this was definitely the worst use of it in the entire film. Everywhere else was great, but right here is when it really bothered me. The android Ash from the first Alien movie makes an appearance here. Alvarez stated that it's not the same Ash. This one's name is actually Rook, but it's another synthetic like him who has, the same sort of appearance, and his primary directive is to protect Weyland-Yutani. They used motion capture to make him appear as he did in the first film, and he was originally played by the late Ian Holm, and he just looked absolutely horrible. His lip movements looked weird and unnatural, and that's not because he's playing a synthetic android. Let's not cope for that. It's just bad motion capture, full stop. Completely took me out every time that he was on screen. It was just so jarring. The callbacks don't stop with Alien though. There's actually quite a lot of connection to Prometheus as well. And I loved Prometheus. It's one of my favorites from Ridley Scott. I know some did not like the movie as much as I did, which is, understandable, but the ideas present in that film I just really liked, so I was pleasantly surprised to see the black goo make an appearance, and that sets up the final sequence of the film once Rain and Andy destroy the ship filled with all the xenomorphs. This was my favorite part of the whole movie personally because of the use of those ideas from Prometheus. Isabella Merced's character Kay is pregnant in the film, and she gets injured as they try to escape on their ship. She gets attacked by one of the xenomorphs and gets injured. She's carrying the black goo in these vials that the android Rook wants to protect and give back to the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. But if you've seen Prometheus, that goo is pretty dangerous stuff. Well, Kay injects herself with this goo to possibly heal her wounds because of the properties that are in it. But it affects her unborn child, and she quickly starts to develop this baby at a rapid pace, and she eventually gives birth to this human xenomorph engineer hybrid, which looked pretty ugly and creepy to say the least. I thought the design of him was pretty cool looking. It had the body of a xenomorph, but like the skin color was more human looking, but it also had the appearance and the face of the engineers from Prometheus. So it becomes this tense standoff with this just thing that Rain manages to kick out into space eventually. And like I said, I loved Prometheus, so that final sequence really was well done, in my opinion. So, to wrap it all up, I'm giving Alien Romulus a score of 4 out of 5. A solid return to the franchise's horror roots with a very capable horror director at the helm and a likable cast to boot, with Kaylee Spaney and David Johnson being the standouts. The smart use of practical effects were fantastic, and the CGI for the most part worked well, but really felt off when it didn't. The movie does take some time to build, but once it gets going, the ride never lets up, with the final act taking serious swings that, in my opinion, paid off. Putting this film in between Alien and Aliens was a smart move and makes this a solid horror trilogy overall. One final thing I wanted to add was that if you haven't seen past Alien films and you want to see Romulus, you absolutely can see this without prior knowledge. It does work on its own, but I do suggest that you at least watch the first Alien to kind of just set foot in that world, to kind of get a feel for it. And it's just a great horror film. It's a horror classic. But what did you guys think of Alien Romulus? Did you like it, or is this just another forgettable entry in the franchise? Where would you rank it on your list of Alien movies? I'm curious to know your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed this review, like the video, subscribe where I do movie reviews and trailer reactions. Make sure you tick the bell to be notified when my next review or reaction drops. Thank you for watching, guys, and until next time, keep it classy and keep it geeky.
Are you sure you want to do this?